Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth and Logos means a study or science. Sattology means a science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means a science or study of fake lie or imagination. We have done a 3 video series in the past, and I'll do is I'll ask my admins to make a playlist out of it. And today is the concluding part of the video series of distortions in Indian history chronology by vested interests, particularly Western academics and Indologists who follow their line. So I have a very, very special guest, Dr. M.L. Raja, to conclude this series today. Welcome, Dr. Raja.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, namaskar. So when we talk about and then we can get started. When we talk about the distortions in Indian history, we have conclusively proved that how from the beginning it has been modified. It is proof with inscriptions, with dating, with Mahabharata evidence or other evidences. But still today, there are a lot of people who call themselves mythologists in India. They continue to peddle a lie that Mahabharata was written in Chandragupta Maurya period. What do you have to say about that?
See, in one of my session, one English scholar told me all these Yuga calculations, all these Indians got from Greek only, Ptolemy and Hipparchus. And I told no, it is not that 43 lakhs 20,000 years and all doesn't match precision of equinox years. And I have showed him the Ptolemy Salma just that he cannot say anything about precision of equinox. So they are spreading lies, and there are many people in India who believe it, either for their vested interest or the admiration of the white people. They are still continuing to follow these lines. But slowly, the people awareness is increasing, even in India also. See, we have talked about Kota Venkatachalam Garu. He has written all these evidence. He has even written about Saraswati River in 1940-50s. Now only after 1990, 2000 only, we are talking about Saraswati River. But that great scholar, historian, he mentioned Saraswati River. That much research. In 1950, there is no facilities. You cannot download any book internet. You have to go on to the library and sit there and read. In spite of that, there is no transport, there is no much electricity, even telecommunication. In spite of that, he did a lot of work, but nobody recognized in 1950s. He is even himself wrote in a book. I was sent a book to a scholar. At least comment on it. At least you say negative on it. Even then, there is no person ready to read this book. That is the situation in 1950s. But in 2020s, it is not the situation. People are ready to know fact. That to youngsters. So it is a welcome attitude. Another 5 to 10 years, the total change will be there in India.
It is so much so now evident now that even yesterday I was in a session and small kid says that the very small kid around 10 years old, he said, if Mahabharata is so old, why America is not teaching it? Because America has to remove everything they have, all the fake heroes. Hercules has to go out, all the Disney characters has to go out, and then all the so-called Olympians have to go out, and then re-begin the civilization, which is going to happen because even Ravan's territory was gone at one point. So even that will happen. But you have to have patience and continue the education. That is more important. You can get started, Dr. Raja, and then we'll continue.
Shall I start presenting?
Please, go ahead. So even the small kids are asking similar questions now.
Yes. Now the awareness, and also once they start asking questions, they will know fact.
Yes.
Why they are asking questions? Because they want to know truth. The truth-seeking mentality came. Previous generation, whatever white people tell, without any add of doubt, without rethinking, even for a single second, they will accept.
That's
Now
right.
people are not ready to accept it. Unless we give evidence,
That's right.
evidence based, then they will accept. They are ready to accept. We cannot just go and tell something and go away. We have to give evidence. That is the mentality, welcome mentality. That should be there. Shall I start, Ji?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Vanakkam, Namaskar. I express my wholehearted thanks to Sri Aditya Ji and the volunteers of Sattology and also the eminent professors, students and scholars of various universities in United States of America for coming to this session and listening me. I wholeheartedly express my thanks to them. And in this session, it is a 4-part continuous series lesson on the distortions and misconceptions in Indian history and chronology. This is the part 4 concluding part. In this, the implausible Aryan invasion theory, how it is wrong, and it is how it is a baseless conjecture, how it is proclaimed, revealed, and propagated without even a single evidence. But there is a hidden motive with evil and malevolent motive by the vested interested people, as Aditya Ji told. So that is the thing. In the part 1, I have dealt how and when and with what motive the distortions in Indian history and chronology was carried out by the vested interested persons who played the conspiratorial role in it. And part 2 dealt with since the whole and single base of the conjecture is Megasthenes Indica and a few other Greek classical literature on India. So we have to analyze the credibility of these texts. And on analyzing it proved beyond doubt they are totally incredible, worthless, and self-conflicting with full of falsehood as shown by the internal evidence within these texts itself. And part 3, I have dealt the evidence to prove that the 5 Yavana kings named in Asoka edict were not Greek, but the Yavana of Indian Kshatriya origin, and how the implausible Aryan invasion into India was conjectured wrongly and assumedly fixed at 1500 BCE with a preconceived notion and a distorting agenda on India. So they want to destroy India. For that, they have fixed this Aryan invasion theory derived and also fixed at 1500 BC. That I have explained. In this part 4, I am going to detail the origin, the spread, and the motive of Aryan invasion theory, and the initial paradoxes and blather in the formation of the theory itself, and how Max Muller did an excellent somersault on that, and the analysis which deals with the meaning of the words of Arya and Dravida, the conjectured skin color of Aryans and Dravidians, and what are all the worst multiple paradoxes in that theory, and what are all the evidence against Aryan invasion theory in literature, archaeology, and the facts on river Saraswati, horses, iron, war, and genetics, and modern day discrepancies, and with the conclusion that AIT is total myth and just an imaginary story with evil motives. That we should understand. And finally, a request, I complete this session. And now we are going to detail about the origin and the spread of this Aryan invasion theory. How it all started, how it spread, how it was propagated throughout the world. Filippo Sassetti, he was in the late part of the 15th century. He is from Florence, Italy. He came to India in 1583 Common Era. He stayed in Cochin, Malabar, and Goa for 5 years. He observed the customs and traditions and also the language of the people. Based on that, he wrote 32 letters to Italy. But unfortunately, these letters were published only a few centuries after 1588, that is nearly or beyond 1800 Common Era. In these letters, he especially noted the similarities between Sanskrit and Italian language. For example, he quoted that Deva, for God in Sanskrit, Deva, Dio in Italy, Sarpa and Serpa for snake, Sapta and Sete for 7, and Ashta and Auto for 8, Nava and No for 9. So these similarities he noted in his letters, which were published in after 1800. So this had started for the conjecture of the so-called Indo-European language family that they started. Further, they shown that Pitru and father, Matru and mother, Pidar and mother in Persian language for father, like that, a few similarities they have shown. But in language has lakhs of words in each language, but only the similarities is less than 25. Even if it is, we can say it is only 50. Out of lakh words, 50 lakh similarity is nothing. But based on that, they proclaimed the theory of Proto-Indian, Indo-European language that they started. And they found that William Jones also thought that like that, and he thought Sanskrit may be the mother of all languages. But that was not accepted by the Europeans. And Jind, the Persian's ancient language, was also ancient. So they called it as an Indo-Iranian language, But Germans thought it should be correctly named as Indo-German language, because they thought German was the best and had more right on Sanskrit. So, for example, German philologist Franz Bopp, he mentioned, he used the word Indo-German language many times based on comparative philology and other linguistic studies. But later, Russian and other British people requested Bopp to change from Indo-German to Indo-European language. In the 1700 or 1800 and that range, Portugal, France, Holland, and England were in power race to capture India. All the four nations from Europe, they want to capture India. So they tried their level best, but finally England won. However, there were only 2 lakh English troops and officers, but the people to be ruled is 10 crores. So they cannot rule. They are very minimal force. So they adopted the policy, divide, rule, loot, and convert policy, and seeding inferiority complex, which I explained with Thomas Babington Macaulay Minutes of Education. And the most important method is to reduce India's antiquity. So to reduce India's antiquity, they should read Purana and Idihasa and other things. So Sanskrit knowledge must be important. So they created a board and chair for Sanskrit in Oxford University of Britain. And based on that, James Mill and Charles Grant wrote false history on India. That I have explained in the first part. And the most important personality is Thomas Babington Macaulay, who came to India, traveled for 6 years, and he only submitted the minutes of education February 2nd, 1835 to the British government. That is still followed, the Macaulay education. He was searching some person who know little bit Sanskrit so that he can translate all the Sanskrit literature in a wrong way. For that, he searched it. This is happening. And James Cowles Pritchard, he was a British physician, ethnologist, and physical anthropologist. He used the word Aryan race in 1843. And Christian Layson, he is a Norwegian, German Orientalist and Indologist. He used the word Arya to denote a particular sect of people. And John Wilson, the Scotland Christian missionary, who came to India in 1829, lived here till 1875. He was the president of Asiatic Society of Bombay. He first mentioned the race as an Arya as a race in the book India 3000 years ago, published in 1858. And the most important persons who did a lot of thing to confuse Tamil people were Robert Caldwell and George Pope, G.U. Pope. Both Christian missionaries of England and Canada, they stayed in Tamil Nadu, and they divided the north and south people, and the language of India as Aryan Dravidian. You can refer Caldwell's book, A Comparative Grammar of Dravidian or South Indian Family of Languages. That I will discuss later. So, unfortunately, in 1857, British narrowly escaped from the First War of Independence against British. Lord Canning mentioned, we have narrowly escaped. It was a natural race. So, if they want to continue, they have to adopt more policy. So, they applied divide and rule policy much, and Robert Caldwell and Hugh Pope helped them a lot. And Frederick Max Muller finally was found out by Thomas Babington Macaulay and both met in London at least 3 times around 1850s. So Macaulay got his person. And Frederick Max Muller, at the advice and assurance of financial assistance by Macaulay and East India Company, translated Rig Veda into English in such a way to seed strong aversion on Veda in the minds of India. That is his motive, to translate Rig Veda. During the translation, he came across a word, Arya, 36 times in 34 mantra. So based on that, he started propagating Aryan theory, Aryan race theory. Regnard, who was Max Muller's French friend, who is living in France, he popularized the Aryan race theory of Max Muller in France. On Count de Gobineau, he identified white Aryans, Europeans with Aryan race. First time they are identifying white Europeans, that European people as an Aryan race people. You can refer his book, Inequality of Races, Count de Gobineau. And in Frederick Max Muller in 1860, you see 1860, in the German article used the term Aryan race. In 1861, in his lecture, Science of Languages, Max Muller made the terminology Aryan race well popular. In that lecture, why I am saying, because when we see somersault of Max Muller, you can recognize. He clearly mentioned Aryan as a race, not a cultural term, but a physical and anthropological terminology. That is his initial opinion, Frederick Max Muller. Why he changed, I will explain. And thus, it all based on the similarities of just less than 25 words found in Sanskrit and many of the European languages. See, the similarities may be due to borrowing of words. The words would have traveled to Europe through trade or travel or sea voyage or visit of cultural ambassadors or Buddhist monks, Chinese travelers or Greek travelers. Not necessarily the people from some area, they divide and they settle in different places so that there will be similarities of words. The words would have traveled along with the travelers. So, for example, if you take languages of Asia and Sanskrit, example, especially the Southeast Asian languages, they are more close to Sanskrit and Tamil. Even Japan language, Korean language, and Chinese language are more close to Sanskrit and Tamil. You see Japan, Yamaha, Namaha, Goma, Homa, Tera, Tera, Thoba, Stuba, Kanda, Ganda, Muda, Muda, Yuga, Yogi. Korea, we call in Tamil father as Appa. They call Appar. We say day as Nal. They say as Nal, Null, Null or Nal. So there are many similarities between even Korean, Japan, and Chinese and Southeast Asian languages are more close to us, Sanskrit and Tamil. But why this race theory is not applied there? That is my question. So when we ask, they say it is due to the travel of cultural ambassadors, Buddhist monks, and trade, other thing, and it is borrowing of words. Why don't you apply it to Europe also? If I ask that question, they will not answer. So what is the motive? So we have seen that how it all started and spread. Who are all the persons who played the conspiratory role in it? Now coming to the motive. First, English told India is no man's land. So English got equal right on Indian land. How they brought it? You have to read this Cambridge History of India, edited by E.J. Rapson, Volume 1, Chapter 14, page 594. In that L.D. Barnett wrote that Dravidian people, not only Aryan, Dravidian people also, they come from outside of the India, from north or northwest, probably through Baluchistan, into the plains of Indus, and they passed down into the region of south of India, that is southern India. So Dravidian also not original sons of the soil of India. So not only Aryan, even the Dravidian are also outsiders. So Dravidian first come from outside of India into India, then Aryan came, then Mughals came, lastly English came. So it is no man's land. Everybody is a foreigner to this land. When the freedom fighters asked the English to go out, Quit India movement, the English told to the freedom fighters of India, whoever come first, they should go out first. That is, the Dravidian should go first, then Aryan, then Mughal. Finally, if everybody left, why English has to go? He can occupy the whole land. That is their purpose. So, it is, India is a no man's land, and English got equal right, equal to Dravidian, Aryan, and Mughals, and every person living in this land. That is the first motive. And the second motive is they spread this phrase, that is happy reunion of cousins. Because Aryan invasion theory, already they told Europeans are the important in Aryan race. So Europeans and North Indians are both belong to the same Aryan race. So John Wilson, already I guess on the Scottish Christian missionary who came to India in 1858 to Bombay, he told English occupation of India was a happy family reunion. So English not somebody who is not related to you. He is your brother. He is your cousin. So your cousin only ruling you. Why you are bothered? Like that they told. Frederick Max Muller also expressed in the same way. This was to vindicate and to justify British colonial rule in India and to brainwash Indian people not to oppose British rule in India because they are your cousins. Like that, happy reunion of cousins. And the third thing is race theory. What race theory says? White people are at the top, black at the lowermost bottom, others are in the middle. So white people are highly intelligent, knowledgeable, and capable person. They are at the top. So thus it is used to vindicate the European occupation of other people's land and rule them as slaves, and to justify that European are the masters. So European got the right to rule, loot, and convert other human beings in all other continents. For that, they created the conjectured and propagated race theory. And the fourth thing is identity crisis of the Europeans. After the 7th and 18th century Common Era, due to industrial revolution, first happened in England. But how it happened? Who gave capital to that industrial revolution? It is again India only. Thanks for the Bengal plunder by British, 125 crore pounds in 1757 Common Era. British took away from Bengal itself. 125 crore pounds in 1757. You convert into today's value and inflation rate, how it will come? How much it will come? You understand? And it is after Plassey War of Bengal, which gave capital for industrial revolution. It is well explained by the corporation that changed the world by Nick Robbins in the page 178. We can verify. So now the industrial revolution because of India happened. India capital gave capital to that, and the Europeans start progressing further. And they started aggressing many countries in other continents. Now they are at the power and they become proud. However, their antiquity was not great and ancient. So this lead to an identity crisis in them, a vacuum in their mind, and deficiency in their pride. Further, they want to avoid Judaic ancestry. Thus, they look at the East. Max Muller and other Europeans found out the word Arya in Veda, and in that it mentioned Arya as a highly qualified dignified and very ancient personality. So what they want, they got from Indian Veda. So they adopted Aryan as their ancestor. These are all the four motives for this thing. Now, on what basis Max Muller fixed Aryan invasion into India at 1500 BC? That I have explained in part 1, part 2 lectures. That is, Androcotus was equated with Chandragupta Maurya by William Jones based on Megasthenes, India. Thus, he was made to be a contemporary of Alexander of Macedonia, whose period they assumed at 336 to 323 BCE. Based on that, the coronation of the Chandragupta Maurya was fixed at 321 BCE. And in the third part, I explained, based on the identification of 5 Yona kings as wrongly as Greek, Asoka period was fixed around 250 BC. And based on the Buddhist chronicles of Sri Lanka, Buddha Nirvana was fixed around 500 BCE, which is again based on the wrong fixation of period of Chandragupta Maurya and his grandson Asoka. Then they assumed that Buddha was against Veda. So the period of Veda was fixed from 1200 BC to 600 BC, just before Buddha period, 500 BC, Buddha Nirvana. Then allowing 300 years for Aryan to compose Chandas, that is Veda Mantra, Friedrich Max Muller fixed Aryan invasion into India at 1500 BCE. These are all well explained by Max Muller in the book A History of Ancient Sanskrit Literature in pages 240 to 45. In this page, Max Muller wrote another incident, Kadacharit Sagara. It was compiled by Somadeva Bhatta in the 12th century Common Era. Max Muller wrote. Based on this text, Kadacharita Sagara, Max Muller further wrote that Katyayana, Vararusi, wrote commentaries to the grammar text of Panini and was contemporary to Panini. And this Katyayana was said to have become a minister of Nanda and his mysterious successor Yogananda. Mysterious is a word used by Max Muller, not in the drama. Yogananda at Padaliputra. Now, Max Muller equated this Nanda as the king Mahabhatmananda, who ruled Magadha kingdom immediately before Chandragupta Maurya. Yes, they have already conjectured Chandragupta Maurya's coronation at 321 BCE. Based on that, Max Muller fixed the date of Katyayana in the second half of the 4th century BC. But the important thing comes now. Based on Katyayana's date, Max Muller fixed the dates of Asvalanaya and Saunaka, who wrote Sutra texts, because they are said to be senior contemporaries of Katyayana. So based on that, Max Muller fixed Sutra period 200 years before and after Katyayana period. Why 200 years? We don't know. We cannot ask Max Muller. So 6th to 2nd century BC was the Sutra period. After that, 200 years allotted for each part of the Veda to develop. So finally, the Rig Veda or Chandas Mantra at 1200 BCE and Aryan invention into 1500 BC. Like that, he fixed it. But what is this story, this Kadacharit Sagara, which narrated the story of Katyayana Vararusi? That is important. It is a ghost story. So Katyayana became a ghost after death. And he was an important character in the drama, which was narrated in the Kadacharita Sagara. In that, he told in the actual birth, he was a minister of Nanda, like that. So it is all a ghost story. Max Muller himself acknowledged it's a ghost story at page 243 of this book. So Katyayana ghost was important character in the story. Thus, Max Muller considered even a ghost story as an authentic history of India. Why he considered? Because it suits his hidden agenda. Whatever suits his agenda, they will accept. Whatever the opposite, even if it is a true history, authentic evidence with authentic evidence, they neglect it. They say something about that and they will not accept. That is their motive. Finally, what my idea, it should be. That is the thing. Ghost story become an authentic history because of Max Muller. We can see only in India. Further, Max Muller himself wrote that the successor of Nanda was Yogananda, not Chandragupta Maurya. So this Nanda and Yogananda may be some other persons, not Nanda and Chandragupta Maurya. But he equated Katyayana with Chandragupta Maurya. So we see it all fictions. and imaginary absurd blather. That is the thing we can say. And Max Muller's somersault. That I want to explain. After that, I will go to the main topic. Frederick Max Muller in 1860 and 61, I have shown that Arya he mentioned as a race, as a physical property. Anthropologically, it is a race. But in 71, just 10 years, unification of Germany happened. Prussia became one of the powerful countries in Europe. And Germany fully supported Aryan race theory. Already we have seen the Franz Bopp of German used the term Indo-German language. So this was the important cause, one of the important cause for First and Second World War. Yes, Germany thought that they were the pure Aryans than other Europeans, and hence had the legitimate right more than other Europeans to rule the world. Like that they thought. So what we see, after all, Europeans snatched deceivingly the treasure Aryan from India. But on dividing this treasure among themselves, usually, naturally, it will happen. Conflict and difference of opinion come, and that led to 2 world wars. That is the thing. So West Germany became unified to a powerful nation in 1871. That is Prussia. We know that German Max Muller came to England in 1846 just to earn his livelihood. But after the unification of German, Max Muller was seen as a German who was advancing German ideology in Victorian England. So Max Muller was looked with suspicion in England because German was heavily propagating Aryan theory. Hence, simply to survive in England, Max Muller had to repudiate his own and his nation theory, Aryan invasion theory. Hence, to survive in England, Max Muller did a worst somersault and declared in 1890s, I have declared again and again that if I say Aryans, we know already 1860-61, he mentioned it is a race. Now he mentioned, I mean neither blood nor bone nor hair nor skill. I simply mean Aryan language. What he told, to me, an ethnologist who speaks of Aryan race, Aryan blood, Aryan eyes and hair is a great sinner. As a linguist who speaks of dolichocephalic dictionary or brachycephalic grammar. That was his somersault. Max Muller further said, no power on earth will ever determine Vedic hymns, whether they are composed in 1000 or 2000 or 3000 BC. He only wrote that all Vedas are composed between 1200 to 600 BC. Now he told no power on earth can determine when Vedic hymns were composed. That is his somersault. Thus, Max Muller, you can refer this blog spot for all these things. Max Muller had condemned his own theory just to survive in England. He has not changed his idea because of the facts. He realized the truth and he changed. No, just to survive in England, he condemned his own theory. Thus was the integrity of Max Muller, and it clearly proves his incredibility. But unfortunately, his Aryan invasion theory was still taught in India's educational institutions. That is the worst pity condition of India even now. Why Max Muller chose Central Asia, especially Samarkand, as the homeland? So far, no consensus among the so-called scholars on the original homeland of Aryans. That also there. It varies from Central Asia to Central Europe or any land in the earth except India. That is their motive. We should not fix India. Other than India, we can fix anywhere. Even we can fix Antarctica. That it is accepted out there. So it is like searching an absent black cat, because Aryan didn't came from everywhere. They are the sons of this soil. So it is absent. So they are searching an absent black cat in a dark room. Why Max Muller proposed Central Asia? Because he found that among the Sanskrit and European languages, there were no similarities for the word sea and fish. So sea and fish will be nearer in the sea only. So the Aryan homeland should be away from sea and should be a landlocked area. Hence he thought of Central Asia as the homeland, which is landlocked. For sea, Sanskrit, Samudra, Sagaram, Latin, Mare, Darya, and Persian, English, sea. So there is no similarity. But there are 100 references in Rig Veda on Samudra, sea, or 12 reference for ships, and Saraswati and other river flowing towards sea. There are many mantras mentioned in Sanskrit. And fish, Sanskrit is Matsya. You know Matsya Prana and Matsya Avatara of Sriman Narayana. In Latin, it is physis, and goth fisk, and fish in English. Only Jent is Matsya, very close to us, because Jent is Iranian. So there is no similarities between sea and fish. So it should be a landlocked country. Why he chose Central Asia? Many landlocked country will be there now. Because Indo-Iranian language changed the least than the European language. He found out. So hence the homeland must be closer to India and Iran. Because less travel, less damage, less alteration. So how he thought? These are not all science, we got to accept it. So he fixed Central Asia as the homeland of Indo-Europeans or Aryans. But if you see Central Asia, there are many seas, landlocked seas. Central Asia, Caspian Sea is there, Aral Sea is there, and Lake Balkha, 16,000 square kilometer in area, and Lake Siskol. Many lakes are there, lakes, and seas are there, landlocked seas are there. They are inland seas within 300 kilometers on all sides from Central Asia. So just 300 kilometers. Even for this, the Indo-Europeans didn't travel. So that's why they don't have any word for sea and fish. Because they are so immobile, Max Muller argued, that they hesitate to travel even 300 kilometers to reach the seashore. Such was the immobility of this Indo-European people. So they didn't come across sea and fish. But there are many fish in Central Asia even now. Further, fish will not be there not only in seas. It will be in lake, pond, or small reservoir of water, even in small streams. These small streams and lakes will be just few kilometers, 5 or 10, even sometimes 1 kilometer away from the residents of this Central Asia. But these people, Indo-European, they are so immobile, not even, they are lazy people. They didn't travel even just a few kilometers to come across fish. That is his argument. First argument is like that. But in the same, after 2 lines, what he wrote, suddenly these Aryans become virulently mobile. Such an immobile person become virulently mobile, and they crossed 2,000 kilometers to reach Sindh River in India and Iran, on 4,000 kilometers to reach Europe. See, this is the Central Asia. There are many landlocked lakes are there, seas are there, streams are there. Even just, you see, many streams are there in Central Asia. Many streams and lakes and seas are there. These are all lakes. They didn't bother even to travel this much to know fish. But suddenly they become mobile. From this area, not even few kilometers, they are not able to travel. But they traveled to this area, and to this area. That is the statement and argument by Frederick Max Muller. And another thing what Max Muller wrote is, from Central Asia, one group of Indo-Europeans went to northwest to Europe. Another group went southeast to India and Iran. Why 2 groups? At the opposite, northwest and southeast. To say it will be good now, matching each other. That's why he told like that, I don't know. Northwest and southeast. But no explanation. Why only 2 groups? 3 or 4 groups may be there. One eastern group to China and Korea, Japan. Why they not thought of that? Because many similar words between Sanskrit and Chinese, Korean, and Japan languages are there. Why Southeast Asia is left out? No answers. However, if you look at the map, Asia map, Iran is not southeast of Central Asia, but southwest of Central Asia. You can see this is Central Asia. Iran is here. It is southwest. Even Sindhu is near down south, not southeast. So, even in elementary geography itself, Max Muller failed miserably. That is the thing. These are all mentioned in biography, supports, and home of Aryans, Max Muller. Thus, within one paragraph itself, Max Muller had committed many mistakes and contraindicated his own statement. But we are still accepting as a theory, accepted theory as a fact in the entire world. That is the thing. Now coming to, is there is any evidence for this Aryan invasion into India in 1500 BC? Not even a single evidence, either on archaeology, literature, inscription, numismatics, or foreign writings. It is entirely based on the similarities of less than 25 words between Sanskrit and European languages, and wrong application of philology and comparative linguistics. Those scientific study are good, but these people applied wrongly. If the philology and comparative linguistics are applied in the way these Europeans applied for Aryan invasion theory, then we can say English language originated in Sagara district, Sagara desert of North Africa, and the original home of English was Sagara desert. Even we can say like that, because there are words in English denoting desert and camel. So it originated from there. There only they went for Europe and England. So thus it is entirely based on the wrong application of philology and comparative linguistics. This subject should be applied properly to know correct history. But these Europeans applied linguistic studies improperly and bent these studies to derive their preconceived results. They bent the actual subject, actual result. That is the thing. For example, I will examine. These are all based on mere assumptions that are based again on assumptions. Conjectures to support the previous conjecture. No independent actual evidence. For example, first assumption will support the second assumption. And the second assumption will support the first assumption. First will support second and second will support first. Both are assumptions. No actual and real evidence to support anything. I will give an example. Suppose if we say A has come to New York. If we ask the evidence to prove that A has come to New York, this Aryan invasion theory propagators will say it is because B has been hospitalized with the broken bones after the fight with A. Okay, that I accept. I want evidence that A has attacked B. You give me evidence, I will accept. But they will say it is evidence because A has come to New York. No. A has come to New York is proved by B has been hospitalized, and B has been hospitalized is proved by A has come to New York. No other evidence. So if we ask again, they will say first sentence, first evidence, assumption is the evidence for the second, and second assumption is the evidence for first. This is the circular argument, circumlocutionary, tautology. This is the thing they have done in Aryan invasion theory. No evidence, no fresh evidence, no truth behind this. One assumption supporting another, and the second assumption supporting the first. That is the thing they have done. But on the contrary, there are abundant literary and archaeological evidence against this implausible Aryan invasion theory. Now I am going to deal with that. First thing is literature. Suppose if we say that these Aryans, one part has come to India and Iran, another part went to Europe. In any of their literature, either India, Iran, or Europe, they have noted that we came from Central Asia. But it is conspicuously absent. No text mention the place name, mountain, river, lake, unique features, either geography or any other thing that was connected to Central Asia. Either Indian, Iranian, and European texts. You can find out, you can search. Not even a single evidence. It is conspicuously absent. For example, we can see these places in New York, USA, New York. It is named after New Amsterdam, then changed to York. New Jersey, New Orleans, New England, New Hampshire, New London, New South Wales in Australia, New Zealand. Small towns are named as London, Oxford, or Manchester, etc. in many states of USA. This shows their original place of origin is from England, France, or Netherlands. Like this, there should be evidence. No, there is not even a single evidence. Literature or place name or archaeology, nothing. But even in India, we still remember Saraswati River, though it dried up in the remote past. In the Triveni Sangama of Prayagraj at Allahabad, Ganga with Yamuna, we still remembering Saraswati River because we were there. And because Saraswati River became dried, we came to Ganges. So we never forget it. In that way, we don't have talked about Central Asia, no. But we are not talked. So there is no such remembrance of any place or thing outside India in Indian literature. That we should understand. Coming to Tamil literature. Initially in 1860s, Max Muller and other persons concluded that Aryan from Central Asia came to India in 1500 BCE and settled in the northwestern part. At the time, Max Muller and other persons told that Aryans were of high profile people. But in 1922, Mohenjo-daro Harappa excavation came. And it revealed a highly developed civilization, excellent civil engineering, with monuments, with the town planning, around the river Sindhu, that is Indus River. And it was dated to 1900 BCE, much before this 1500 BCE, even before 1900. So this created a problem to them. It's a big jolt to Aryan invasion theory propagators. So now they should realize the truth and they should have changed it. That the people of Sindhu civilization are the native people and sons of soil of India. So they would have accepted that, but they started. Their motive is not to find out truth, to rule India. So they started spreading another conjecture that the people of Sindhu civilization, their conjecture was by Dravidians. They got this name from Indian literature only. And they changed the high-profile Aryans into nomadic people who came with cattle herd and fought and defeated these Dravidians and drove them to south. So Dravidians are high-profile people, Aryans are nomads, barbarians, but they defeated Dravidians. And Dravidian came to cross the Vindhya mountain and settled in South India, and Tamil people were one of the important in this Dravidian. So they totally changed the story. Thus, it all resembles a movie director and a story writer changing the imaginary story that they are shooting into a movie to suit their will and wish and to make it more acceptable by audience. Like that way, they changed. But in movie, we can change. It is not truth, it is not history. But when we write a history of a nation or a society, we should not adopt this method. We should have some responsibility, scholarly attitude, and truth consciousness in writing the history of nation, because it will shape the future of millions of fellow human beings. They forget that. And Tamil literature and Tamil land contradicts this Dravidian movement and Aryan invasion theory in total. Not even one place in either Tamil literature or anything in South India resembles any place name of Sindhu in South India. Not even in any ancient Tamil literature, including Sangam literature, it is not even once mentioned the migration of Dravidian from Sindhu to Tamil Nadu or any place name of Sindhu area. But in Tamil literature, what we found, the rivers like Kaveri, Vaigai, Anpurunai, Kanchi, and even Ganga river was mentioned with respect and worship. It mentioned Podigai Hill, Malaya Hill, and other places in Tamil Nadu, and adjacent areas, and even Himalaya mountain, but not any place name of Sindhu area. So Sangam literature and place name, it is conspicuously absent. That is one thing. And the another thing is, on the contrary, ancient Tamil texts mentioned the migration of people of Pandya kingdom from south to north, not from north to south. That is from Kumari land. That is Tenmadurai, Kapadapuram, Kumari, and Pakuri river. This land was submerged in Indian Ocean at least some 10,000 years before. Yes, the migration of Tamil-speaking people was not north to south, but definitely south to north, in the opposite direction. Evidence is there. Purananuru 6.9, 15th poem, Madurai Kanchi 759, 760th line, and Silapadigaram, Madurai Kandam, Kadu Kankade 17 to 23rd line. வடிவேல் எறிந்த வான்பகை பொறாது பக்குரலி ஆற்றுடன் பன்மடை அடுக்க குமரை கோடும் கொடுங்கடல் கொல்ல வடதிசை கங்கையும் இமயம் கொண்டு தென் திசை ஆண்ட தென்னவன் வாழி திங்கள் செல்வான். About Pandya king, because of the anger, the samudra, the sea submerged the Pandya land, so he moved north. That is the thing expressed in Silapadigaram. So they migrated from Kapadapuram, Kumari land, and from the banks of Kumari and Pakuruli river to the present day Madurai. There is one Madurai in Tamil Nadu, Madurai in north and Madurai in Tamil Nadu, that is in southern part of India, Tamil Nadu. From the submerged land which is down south to the present day Kanyakumari, they came up north to Tamil Nadu. So it is south to north, not from south to north to south. So they all texts mention the names of Kumari land, Kumari, Pakurili river, but not even a single text in single place mentioned any place name of Sindhu Saraswati civilization or in between end route place like Tapati, Narmada, Godavari, Krishna, Tungabhadra, even not that is there. For example, Velvikudi copper plate, the inscription of Jadila Parandaka Pandya mentioned his ancestor King Pandya King Palyagasale, Mudugudumi Peruvali, who was mentioned in the poem 9, that is Munnir Vilavin Nedion Nannir Pakurili Manalinum Palave. That is, he mentioned in the present tense that he is ruling Pakurili river, that was submerged. So thus the migration was south to north and not at all north to south. This totally contradicts Aryan invasion theory. Now, what are all the paradoxes? So first we can see Sindh area, a largest civilization of million square kilometers, but left no literature. But an excellent literature in the entire world, but no civilization, nothing at Central Asia. Because Aryans, they thought that Veda and other things are belong to Aryan. It is an excellent literature, but no civilization at Central Asia. First paradox. And these nomadic barbarians, Aryans, suddenly gave an extra voluminous and the best literature of the entire world within 300 years. A language with unparalleled grammar and its grammar text, that is Sanskrit. How it is possible? They are nomadic barbarians. And paradox 3, the same Indo-European people who went to Europe did not give any literature even after 1000 years. They also went to Europe in 1500 BC. But till 500 BC, no literature. But, however, these people told the same Indo-European people came to India, revealed Veda and vibrant Sanskrit literature within 300 years. How it is possible? And paradox 4 is, we see in Sindhu civilization, well-planned cities with accurate and magnificent civil engineering, monuments and houses. You can see how the city planning is there. But there is no literature of any kind, including mathematics, geometry, civil engineering, architecture. But these nomadic barbarians who came from Central Asia, that is these Aryans, they have Sulba Kalpasutra text and Stapetya Veda, detailing geometry, civil engineering, mathematics, architecture, but there is no structures, there is no monuments. One side there is monument, but no literature. Other side, one literature, no monument. And paradox 5, Sindhu Valley civilization had ports and navigation and naval trade with adjacent areas. But there is no literature on shipbuilding and navigation. But the so-called nomadic Aryans, who had no harbors, no ships, but excellent texts on shipbuilding and navigation. What it shows? Both belong to one and same person. They divide the monuments and the naval trade to Dravidian and the text to Aryan. But both belong to both, all the persons who are the native of this land. That is the thing. These people wrongly divided. what is the homeland of these Aryans? That we can see from Rigveda, Vishnu Purana and Purananur. Rigveda mentioned Ubhav Samudrava Purva Utaparaha. That is, on east and western side of this people's land, there are oceans. In Central Asia, there is no ocean at all. But in India, there is eastern side Bay of Bengal and western side Arabic. So it definitely shows India is the homeland of these people. And Vishnu Purana clearly mentioned Uttram Yat Samudrasya Himatre Saiva Dakshinam Parsam Tad Bharatam Nama Bharati Yatra Santadi. That means the nation that lies north to ocean, that is Indian Ocean. Anciently, it is called as Hindu Ocean. From the Himalaya down south is known as Bharatam. And the progeny of this, the Santadi of this nation is Bharati. So, they are the sons of this soil, not an outsider. Purananuru clearly mentioned in the same way like Vishnu Purana, Vadadu Panibadu Niduvarai Vadakkum. Tenadu Uruhulu Kumariyin Tekkum. Kunadu Karaipuru Tudugadal Kunakkum. Kudadu Tundrumidi Bhavatin Kudakkum. That is the extent of this nation. The nation extends includes the snowy Himalayas in the north. That is Panipadu. That is snowy. Vadadu Niduvarai, the highest mountain, Himalaya. Vadakku means north. And the Uruhulu, that is frightening Kumari in Tirku, that is in south. That is the frightening Kumari river. That was submerged in sea. Up to that, the land was known as Bharata. And the sea that was dug in the east, that is Sagara. The Bhagirath's story we know, the Sagar people dug the sea. So in the east, it is the sea. Bay of Bengal is dug sea. And the ancient sea in the west, that is Tundru Mudir Babatin Kuda. So clearly, Purananuri, a Tamil literature, mentioned the land, extent of land, and the actual owners of that land. The poem with high antiquity sung on Palyagasalai Mudugudumi Purvadi, I have already shown. He ruled the Pandya kingdom minimum 10,000 years before present. And exact meaning of word Arya and Dravida and Purva Uttara. These Orientalists conjectured Aryan and Dravidian as two races based on cephalic index, nose, hair structures, and color and height. For them, they mentioned Dravida, very dark, black, and curly hair, and depressed and short, broad nose. Arya, very fair, tall, nose narrow and prominent. It is mentioned in the Cambridge History of India, Rapson, in these pages. And the color of the skin, the AAT based on Dravida as black, Arya as fair color. But if you apply, Sri Rama is Dravida and Sita Mata is Arya. Lakshmana is also Arya. Sri Krishna is Dravida, Mata Rukmani is Arya, Balarama is Arya. Ravana and Duryodhana are Arya because they are fair color. Draupadi is Dravida because she is black. Arjuna is Arya. Krishna Dvaipayana, that's why he is known as Krishna. Veda Vyasa is Dravida. But if we see in India, in both the north and south India, in all castes, even within one family, some people are dark, some people are fair color. So we cannot say like that. See, Mandodari called Ravana as Aryaputra. You see, Ravana mentioned by these people of AIT as Dravida. However, he was the grandson of Pulastya Maharishi, the brother of Agastya Rishi, and the son of Visrava Rishi, and half brother of Gupera. Definitely he is an Arya. He is fair colored also. So it all lead to utter confusion and a total blather and pure imagination. What is the meaning of the Arya? The meaning Arya denotes good character person, cultured person, person born in high family. It is a qualifying word, Visheshana Sabda. We can verify in Amarkosa, Sanskrit Namalinga Anusasana, that is Thesaurus, in 273. And Sanskrit dictionaries, Apte, Vaijayanti Kosa, Sabda Kalpadruma, Itikasa Sri Rama, Sri Ramayana and Mahabharata, Purana, Veda and Buddhist texts. Rigveda mentioned Arya 36 times in 34 mantras. Not even in one single place, Arya was used with racial connotation. What about Dravida? Dravida is a geographical word. India is of 10 parts. Pancha Gauda, Pancha Dravida. North of India mountain from Kashmir to Bengal is Pancha Gauda Desha, 5 Gauda Desha. South of India mountain from Gujarat to Tamil Nadu and Kerala is Pancha Dravida Desha. Gaudapada is from Bengal. He is the Paramakuru of Adi Sankara. So Dravida is also not a racial name but a geographical name. Not even in one single place, any of the literature, Indian literature, Dravida was used with racial name. So we can find evidence. This is an important evidence. Kaikeyi was called Anarya. Previously, he was Arya. She was Arya. Suddenly become Anarya. Why? Because he insisted that Sri Rama should go for Vanavasa. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna mentioned Arjuna's deed of refusing to fight as Anarya. So hence Arya denotes the quality and character of a person denoted by his deeds, not at all racial name. Buddhists often mentioned Arya Dharma. In the same way, Purva is east not only, it is foremost. Uttara is north and later. So you see, from east, that is foremost place, the people migrated to north, that is later place. So east to north, not as mentioned by north to southeast by Max Muller. That also contradicts. Under the philology and comparative linguistics, Robert Caldwell, he did a 10 tests to divide Aryan and Dravidian languages. If he apply his own 10 tests, then Hindi will be 100% Dravidian. Marathi will be 60% Dravidian. Instead of that 10 characters, if you take some other 10 characters, their result will be exactly opposite. One simple example, simple thing, we can see, out of all the languages of the world, the language of India, the Sinhala and Sindhi have unique structure, peculiar to them alone. Here, the vowels are there, consonants are there, but they both join together to form a single letter, and from that they denote meaning. Sometimes vowels, sometimes individually denote meaning. Consonants never denote any meaning. So vowel and consonant join together to form a combined letter, single letter is the unique feature. And vowel starts from A to Au and consonant start from Ka. That is unique to all these languages. This is like application of life and body. Life is vowel and body is consonant. When life and body combines, the living being can be active, the language will be active. Life alone can be active as Asari. Sometimes in Tamil we say Ai. So this cannot be found outside the Bharat. So we are one nation, one people, based on this philology and comparative linguistics. Then coming to archaeology, Sindhu sites were abandoned, not destroyed, proved by many archaeologists. For example, repeated floods in river Sindhu proved by different mud layers of repeated deposits. And there are fire altars and sacrificial fire altars are there in Lothal, Kalibangan, Rakikar, Dholavira, Kunal, Mehrikar, 6500 BC. There are skeletons, 350 skeletons were found out. Not even single sign of war injury or war broken bones. And there is no morphological or racial difference between these 350 skeletons to divide Arya and Dravida. That was exactly mentioned by George F. Dales, US archaeologist. He mentioned that it is only a mythical massacre. And there are Indus seals, spoked wheel seals are there. Spoked wheel now found out in Senoli, they are used for chariots. And A. Ghosh found the cephalic index of the skeletons of Mohenjo-daro was as that of Sindh province people in Pakistan. And the cephalic index of Lothal skeletons are as that of the present day people of Gujarat. And you see Pumbugar in Tamil Nadu state, southern part of India, we can find out Dr. S.R. Rao and National Institute of Oceanography, Goa, found out 2 U-shaped underwater structures in Bay of Bengal, 5 kilometers from the seashore, at a depth of 23 meters in Pumbugar. Marine archaeology, underwater study. This shows that Pumbugar was more than 5,000 years ancient. That is 3000 BCE. That means Tamil-speaking people were at Chola kingdom much before the so-called Aryan invasion at 1500 BC. And the drawing out of Dravidian to Tamil Nadu from Sindhu area in 1500 BC. So this Pumbugar totally disproves Aryan invasion theory. Now come to the invaders and invaders. See, there are many layers of Harappa, pre-Harappa, matured Harappa, and late Harappa. The invaders, that is Aryans, they came in 1500. But the invaded people, the Dravida, left those sites because of flood or dryness of Saraswati River. Like that, many reasons. They left the site in 2000 or 2600 itself. So when the invader came, the invaded people were not there. So hence, massacre of invaded by the invaders is a total myth. Then coming to Vermilion, usually Hindu people married women will apply Vermilion on the forehead. They say it is an Aryan culture. But the female terracotta with Vermilion on the center of the forehead at Nausra found out that is 6,500 years ago. That is 4,500 BC. Totally disproved Aryan invasion theory. And Kurukshetra and Hastinapura, many iron and copper utensils were found more than 2000 BC, much before 1500 BC of Aryan invasion theory. And marine archaeology at Dwaraka, 1900 BCE, much before this 1500 BC. And Sanoli, now recent thing, horse-driven chariots before 2000 BC. So that also disproved. And ochre-colored pottery, 2500 to 2000 BCE, were there in Sanoli. So it all totally disproved Aryan invasion theory, all these archaeological excavations. In the same way, J.M. Conayer mentioned that the so-called invaders left no trace of their arrival. No archaeological or biological evidence for invasion or mass migration into Indus Valley civilization. Conayer mentioned. These are all the many, including Vakankar sir, B.P. Lal sir, many archaeologists expressed that there is no evidence for the invasion of or mass migration of Aryan people into Indus Valley. American archaeologist Jim Saffer mentioned in the same. Current archaeological data do not support the existence of Indo-Aryan or European invasion into South Asia. Dr. S.R. Rao, he confirmed this thing. So all the archaeologists are not at all accepting and they are contradicting, they are opposing Aryan invasion theory. Archaeology totally disproves Aryan invasion theory as an unscientific thing. Now coming to Saraswati River, Rigveda mentioned Saraswati in 94 places, out of which 14 mentioned Saraswati as a mighty river with abundant water flowing in present tense. For example, 241:16 mentioned worshipped Saraswati river as Rigveda, Ambitame, Naditame, Devitame, Saraswati. You are the mother goddess, you are the river, like that. Rigveda Nadi Sutta mentioned that Saraswati was flowing between Yamuna and Sadlaj. Shukla Yajurveda mentioned Saraswati is the main river. Skanda, Vamana and Batma Purana mentioned. Mahabharatam is the Salya Parva, Balarama Tirtha Yatra for 42 days, Vana Parva and Idyoga Parva and other Parva mentioned Saraswati as a full flowing river with abundant water. N. Jha mentioned that Saraswati River became dry in 2000 to 1900 BCE. So Mahabharata dates should be before that. And the Baba Atomic Research Center and the Central Arid Zone Research Institute, Jodhpur, confirmed this, that Saraswati River became dry around 1900 BCE and it is found with full swing, and they have proved it that extracting water at the depth of 50 to 60 meters in the course of the defunct course of the river. So what is the inference? Conjectured AIT mentioned that Aryan came to India in 1500 BC. These Aryans only composed Veda. But this Veda mentioned Saraswati River as a flowing with flood up to the brim of its bank in present tense. They told that Veda were composed after 1200 BC. But at the time, Saraswati River was dried even in 2000 to 1900 BC. That is 1000 years before Veda composed. Then how can this Veda text mention Saraswati in present tense as a flooding river? So totally disproves Saraswati River, this date and Aryan invasion theory. It is, when it is dried, that also mentioned by IIT Kharagpur study and also be clipped at their study. They mentioned it is due to the tectonic change in Himalaya Shivalik range and the changing course of tributaries of Saraswati, Yamuna and Shadlej, and also the failure of monsoon. Thus, Saraswati River totally disproved AIT without even an iota of doubt. Now coming to horse, the propagators of Aryan invasion theory argued that before Aryan came to India, there was no horses because there was no skeletons or seals of horse in the Sindhu Valley civilization. Aryan only brought horse to India from Central Asia in 1500 BC. But A. Ghosh, in his book Encyclopedia of Indian Archaeology, in this page, he mentioned in India, true horse are reported from the Neolithic levels at Kodekal and Halur and Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, Ropar, Harappa, Lothal, etc. Recently, bones, that is domesticated horses, Equus caballus, have also been reported in Proto-Harappan, that is more than 2500 BC, at Malwan in Gujarat. In India, the earliest evidence of domesticated horse exists 4500 BCE, at Bahur, much before 1500 BCE. At Sutkodat, bones of Equus caballus from 2100 to 1700 BCE, much before 1500 BCE. Davalkar in Indian proto-history and Meke, further excavations of Mohenjo-daro, all these experts mentioned in the same way that horse exists before 2000 BCE in India. In Mahagara near Allahabad, UP, that is Prayagraj, that 6 samples of absolute carbon-14 test have been done on the horse bones, and it proved the period is 2265 to 1480 BCE, much before the date of Aryan invasion. And Rigveda mentioned horses with 34 ribs. Sadhus Trimsat, that is 34. Vankrir is rib. Vajjino is, and Asva is horse. And Sadapada Brahmana mentioned in the same way horse with 34 ribs. Except in Arabia and as shown in Vedic texts in India, in the rest of the world, including Central Asia, horse will have 36 ribs, that is 18 pairs. Suppose if the Aryans brought horse from Central Asia, then that horse should have 36 ribs, and the Vedic text should have mentioned 36 ribs, 18 pairs, instead of 34, 17 pairs. And we conducted Ashwamedha Yajna and Srimad Ramayana period itself, we know. And Tamil literature, they mentioned horse. Purananur in the second poem, Seraman Perinjotru Udayan Seraladan by Muranjur Mudainaganar. He is the Chera king who fed army of Pandava and Mahabharata. To praise him, what this Muranjur Mudainaganar mentioned about Mahabharata, அலங்குலை புரைவு ஐவரோடு சினை நிலந்தலை கொண்ட புலம்பூந்தன்பை ஈர் 50 என்பரும் பொருது களத்துளிய பெருஞ்சோற்று மிகுபதம் வரையாது கொடுத்தோர். அலங்குலை புரைவு ஐவர், ஐவர் மீன்ஸ் 5, சினை with anger, நிலந்தலை கொண்ட, their land was taken away by ஈர் 50 என்பரும் 100 people, and they were defeated in the war. So Mahabharata war excellently mentioned in this Alangulai Puravi, that is important. Puravi means horse. Pandava are described as the 5 who owned horses with swaying mane. And larger Chinnamanur copper plate of King Rajasimha Pandya, 1100 years before mentioned, Marathar Malaikalatha Aviya, Bharadathir Pahadotiyum. This Pandya king participated in the Mahabharata war and with his elephant force defeated the army chiefs fighting from the horse-driven chariot. Marathar. Vijayanai Vijaya versus Sapani. So, in Tamil also there are evidence for horse. This is an excellent ancient rock art paint. In Tamil Nadu, in Nilagiri district, Karikayur Nilagiri district, estimated 10,000 BCE. See horse with the manes. You see the manes is clear mane is clearly drawn.
Dr.
I
Rajan?
thank Sri Kavin Ramesh. Tell me, sir.
Yeah, we can. So this is the question we have from the audience is coming out, that the all these proofs, are they mentioned in any book, or you can quote them somewhere, because they're not available to American audience?
No, I have mentioned all the books names now
Okay.
in my PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, but
You
they
can
won't be
refer that
available.
which page
Won't,
number I have given.
yeah, won't be available to most of the people in their libraries actually.
No, they can download from internet.
Okay.
I have
Archive.org.
downloaded from internet. I have studied and copied.
Okay. All right.
It is internet available, downloadable.
Okay. All right.
From the house itself, you can download and read.
Yeah. Okay.
So I thank Kavin Ramesh and K. Sivakumar, the researchers in Indian history. They only send me the photograph. You can see the mane of this horse. This main horse, person with Dhanus and other thing. This is spear, like that. There are 3 horses, 1, 2, 3 horses are there. This is another interesting rock art at Chadurbhujanath Nala in western Madhya Pradesh. You see 2 people are riding on a chariot, 2 wheels are there, 4 horses are driving, and men are there. So excellent rock painting. It is estimated 1 lakh to 2 lakhs years. Even if it is 5,000 years, it disproved Aryan invasion theory. Many archaeologists visited this place. I thank Usha and Akash Agarwal for using me the photograph. And the propagators of AIT often argued that there were no horse seals in. Now, horse seal. After horse, we are going to see horse seal. But many horse seals were found out here. One argument is there. There are bull seals in Sindhu civilization, but no seals of cows. Then we can argue that no cow is there in Sindhu. Without cow, how bull came? So, for anything, if it is absent, we can only say that it has not been so far found out. We cannot say it is absent. If it is a present, it is a definite positive sign. If it is not found out, it may be absent, it may be present. Like that, we have to apply. So, for rice also, they are arguing in the same way, but rice was found out in Lothal, Kalibangan, Sarkot, Data. This and all, these things, rice and seal, you can verify in the internet itself. And another thing, important thing I want to mention is, what is the misconception is, there are 4 types of Sena in Indian king. Ratha, Gaja, Turaga, Padata. That means chariot, elephant and horse and also soldier. This Turaga, they think that this, because it came from, this horse came from Turk. So it is called Turaga, not like that. Tura means in Sanskrit fast. Ga means movement, motion. So which one moves fast? That is named as Turaga. It is Turaga, not Turaka. And these Turkey people, they initially lived in Central Asia only. Only in the period of Seljuk kingdom of ruling Turkey. Before that, Turkey is called Anatolia or Asia Minor in the Byzantine Empire. Only when 1000 AD, this Seljuk people came there along with Turk, and they formed an emperor. After that, Mongol emperor was there. Finally, this Ottoman Empire is there. Only in 1919, this Turkey came. And iron, Sanskrit literature frequently uses the word ayas. Many scholars thought it is denotes iron. It may be or may not be. We cannot say. But because Yajurveda different colors for ayas, red and black. That also we can accept it. Iron can come in many colors. But in Hastinapura, more than 150 iron objects were found out in 2000 BCE. Srimad Ramayana and Mahabharata mentioned many objects made of ayas. For example, Bhimasena, the metal statue of Bhimasena, it is mentioned as Ayasi Pratima to deceive Dhritarashtra. That incident everybody knows from Sri Parva. And also in Srimad Ramayana, the Sula weapon of Kumbhakarna is mentioned as fully made of ayas, Yuddha Kanda. So Veda also mentioned ayas only. Now it is translated into iron because since copper is mentioned as Tamra and gold as Swarna. but it may be iron or may not be. For this also, this rule applied. If present, we can say definitely it is present. If it is not present, it may be found in future. So we can only say it is not found so far, and we cannot say it is absent. That is the thing. But in Tamil literature, it again comes to our help. Purananuru in 21st and 367th poem. It is English translation is available from the Central Government Directorate. Purananuru, all Tamil literature, they are slowly coming up in Tamil English literature also. In the 27th poem, it mentioned an incident in war. Vengai Marban is the petty king of Kanaperiyal. Now it is known as Kalayar Koil. It was captured by Kanaperiyal Kadanda Ukkirapiruvadi, the Pandya king. This capturing of this fort was compared by the poet, a beautiful comparison. The immediate vanishing of water that was poured on a heated iron at the workplace of blacksmith. Karungai Kullan Sendi Matiya Irumbun Neerinum, like that. Irumbu means iron in Tamil, definitely Tamil. So a beautiful comparison. So there was Irumbu iron when the king Pandya king Kanaperiyal Kadanda Ukkirapiruvadi was ruling. What is his period? Another poem, 367th poem. It was sung by famous Tamil poetess Abaya. Abaya is very famous. What he mentioned, all the three Charachoda Pandya kingdom were sitting together, chit-chatting. She compared like that, Mutti Puraya Kantakaranda. That is the well with the three Agni are there now. Akavaniyam, Dakshinakni, like that. Like that, these three kings are sitting together, and one of the king is Ukkirapiruvadi. This Ukkirapiruvadi, he is contemporary to Sola king Rasaswayam Veta Pirinarkilli and Chara king Mavanko. This period of this Rasaswayam Veta Pirinarkilli is more than 3,000 to 4,000 years before. So even 2,000, 2,500 years before, iron was there in Tamil Nadu. So we cannot say that iron was not there before Aryan invasion, conjectured Aryan invasion at 1,500. So it is also disproved. And there are about wars. There are war of 10 kings and war of Dasyus. It is mentioned in Rigveda. They conjectured by these Europeans as war between the invading Aryans who are fair colored and the invaded Dravida who are black in color. And Dravida were driven out to their Sindhu valley. To South India. This is come another later part of conjectured age. But we can find in India, there are wars between people of same civilization and heritage. Asoka was war with Kalinga. We cannot say Magadha people and Kalinga people belong to two different races. In the same way, in southern India, the Pandya king fought with the Western Ganga. After that, what happened? This Pandya king's son married the Ganga king daughter, same race, same relatives, same family. The same way, Ganga king Bhuvikrama and Pallava king Parameswara fought at Vilindai. After that, his son, Parameswara's son, got married Bhuvikrama's daughter. You see, Mahabharata is a very good example. It is a war between two cousins only, not between people of two different races. So this war, Arya Dravida, denoting is total wrong understanding. If they understood the basic fabric of this nation, they would have not conjectured like these lies. And coming to the final part, genetics. To do a genetic study, one thing should be done. Then only we can accept. It should be sampling should be 15 to 20% of the population. And the distribution should be same, equal distribution. That is based on occupation, education, socioeconomic status, urban, rural difference, etc. Otherwise, the test cannot be, that study cannot be accepted. 15 to 20% and equal distribution. And if you select certain characters, genetic expressions, 100 characters, the result may be in one form. If we select some other 100 characters, the result will be in another form. It all depends what and how many genetic expressions we are selecting. It is the same for philology and comparative linguistics. If we select 10 characters between language, it may become similar. If we select some other thing, it may look different. For example, a single uniovular twins, if you do genetic study, we can prove that they are two entirely different persons. And the same way, if you take some characters, we can prove that totally two different persons are similar. That is possible in genetic study. See, recently one genetic study on Mahabharata war, one scholar is mentioned. See that in that 15 to 20% population is not taken up, equal distribution is not followed. Further, in that he mentioned out of 10 million people, 4 or 5 million people participated. That is, all the male participated in the war. See, definitely it is a planned war. Mahabharata war is a plan, well planned. How can a farmer or agriculture doing agriculture labor, or a weaver, or a fisherman, or a cart driver, or a goods transporter, or a person who is doing puja or auspicious thing, or carpenter, goldsmith, blacksmith, or mason worker, and different persons who are living in different walks of life, different occupation. How can they know war art? How can they fight? They don't know the training. They didn't got the training. They don't know the method. And in any war, all population will not participate. And the basic fabric of this nation, the basic tradition is there is 4 varna: Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahmana. If there is 100 people, 50 people will be female, 50 male. You can take 30 people will be Sudra, and 10 people will be Vaishya. And the remaining 10 people, only 7 people will be Kshatriya. 3 people will be Brahmana. Out of these 7 people, old people will be there, young children will be there, and though do not fit to fight, health issues may be there. And the king has to leave some force at his kingdom to maintain law and order, defend. So out of 7 people, only 4 people would have participated in the Mahabharata war. Even if the 4 people died, then the ratio will be 50 female to 46 male. Not 1:4 or 1:60. Definitely not. And scientific study shows there are high variance in reproductive. The Y variation, Y chromosome variation may be low, reduced, maybe due to some other factor also, not due to death. High variance in reproductive, such as non-random mating and purifying or negative selection, mutation basis, weak and background selection, and many other things, factors are playing. For example, in Kerala and Malabar district, because of the environment, twins are born more. The birth of twins is more. So environment also play major thing. So we cannot say. So even if you know the tradition and the history of this nation, just a single point, only Kshatriya will fight. Even now, Ukraine, Russia is fighting. There are all the Russians in Siberia, they are taking part in the war. If it is an India-China war, am I participate in that? No. So we should understand that. So we have to apply these things, the basic things in deriving thing. Even if you say something science, immediately we will accept it. That is the nature now, without questioning. In the 1850s, 1890s, linguistic study, immediately people accepted a new thing. Now genetic study, immediately people are accepting. We should not carry out like this. That is my humble request. So we have to keep mind on all these facts, considering these genetic and other studies. So now I am going to conclude. The part 1 dealt with the wrong conjecture and assumption of Chandragupta Maurya's coronation at 321 BC. Part 2, I dealt with the worthlessness of Greek classical literature, Megasthenes in India, and they narrate falsehood and lies on India. Part 3, I narrated the wrong and unscientific decipherment of Asoka's edict and wrongly fixing Gautama Buddha date at 500 BCE and the conjectured implausible Aryan invasion theory. Theory itself is wrong and its date is also wrong, 1500 BCE. Now I dealt with the motive methods adopted and the persons who played the unscholarly role in creating and spreading the entirely baseless, false, and unscientific Aryan invasion theory without showing even a single evidence. Now, coming to the conclusion. So, we have seen that the implausible Aryan invasion theory is a wrong, baseless conjecture without even a single evidence. But it has evil and malevolent motive. It is all based on the assumption of to support assumptions and conjectures based on conjectures. And there is no truth and fact, and no scientific knowledge and method. Not even a single evidence in literature, archaeology, or anything. On the contrary, this literature, archaeology, and the facts on Saraswati River horse and the contradicts and disproves mythical Aryan invasion theory totally. And the arguments based on iron and Rigvedic wars of genetics, that also didn't hold any water. So they are also totally disproved. Thus, the prejudiced and ill-conjectured Aryan invasion theory with the selfish motive by the Europeans to rule India and also other continents, especially by Frederick Max Muller, is totally unscientific. Not only that, it is a blatant lie in the history of the world, especially India. But the most unfortunate thing is, even after 75 years of independence, except a few admirable, adorable scholars like Kota Venkatachalam Haru, Navaratna Rajaram, N. Jha, and David Frale, Srikant Telagiri, and many more. The rest of the Indian scholars still parroting their European master statement. And they didn't carry out any independent research to find out the exact truth. Because of that, still we are teaching our students this blatant unscientific lies at our educational institution in India. This is the worst and pitiable condition of India even today. Thus, I strongly conclude with the fact revealed by Sri Vishnu Purana, that is 231. Second chapter, third adhyaya, first sloka. Uttaram yat samudrasya himatre saiva dakshinam varsam tad bharatam nama bharati yatra santati. Thus, Bharatians, who are the progeny of the ancient rishis, santati of the ancient rishis, jnanis of this nation, Bharatam, extending from Himalaya in north to ocean in south, are the sons of the soil. And this Bharata nation is their homeland since time immemorial and from the time of creation of this universe. It is strongly concluded and confirmed. There is no division among these Bharatians residing from Himalayas to southern ocean, Kanyakumari, and the words Arya and Dravida denotes only character and geography and not at all race. Thus, the distortions and misconceptions in the history and chronology of Bharat, born out of this conjectured, artificial, imaginary, evil Aryan invasion theory, should be thrown out in lock, stock, and barrel, including Aryan invasion theory. So, we have to start rewriting the correct history and chronology of India. It should be begun immediately. Kota Venkatachalam Haru started in 1950s. We got to follow. The patriotic government, I request them at the center should initiate immediate steps to proceed forward. Then the Santadi, the progeny of our ancient rishis and jnanis, they can live within or outside India. All they are the Santadi of the great rishis and jnanis. They should join in this national endeavor and wholeheartedly we should combine and work together for the benefit of our nation. This is my humble prayer to Almighty and one and all. With that, I conclude these 4 parts of the lesson. I thank Aditya ji wholeheartedly for giving me the excellent opportunity to detail all these things. Without him, I couldn't did it. So I wholeheartedly thank Aditya ji and also the team of Sattology and the eminent professors and scholars who are listening in this lecture in United States of America. I thank you very much. Thank you, Aditya ji.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raja. Dr. Raja, one of the things in this is the 4th part of the same series.
Yes.
And for viewers, you can watch the other 3. And if you go to Sattology YouTube channel, you can search for ML Raja and you will see all these 4 CDs together. And also for people who are interested in doing more subjects, what we'll do is we will create one more concluding presentation on all the 4 slides, just the main points, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hmm.
And it will be a short video, but it will just conclude like how we conclusively debunk from many scholars. Sattology has channel has we have so many different scholars presenting the same viewpoint of Aryan migration theory debunked. That is a common factor across all researchers from India. And so that's what you can see. A beautiful presentation, Dr. Raja.
Thank
And
you.
we will also encourage viewers to watch the same presentation, because it may look long, but sometimes you don't have short answer for such a long history of colonization. You
Yes,
cannot
yes.
give you cannot say that it is we can do a 20-minute video on this. It's not possible, because there are a lot of smaller details involved. And this video is, Dr. Raja has done a wonderful analysis from his side, and it puts everything together, so you don't have to read hundreds of books to come to this conclusion. Important aspects already mentioned there. So good work, Dr. Raja.
Thank you, Ji.
And for all the viewers who are watching this, do comment and watch the full video and let us know your feedback. Namaste. Thank you.